Hello, dear listeners. If you're new here, we're Margin Mavens, and we are obsessed with writing in our books and sharing our thoughts with you guys. In this episode, we are talking about The Song Rising, the third book in the Bone Season series by Samantha Shannon, and we are meeting back with Paige Mahoney as she is now dealing with being Underqueen of the London Syndicate, and that would already come with its own set of difficulties, but now she's dealing with Scion hunting all of the voyants down, as well as her former mentor being a rat, and honestly the worst. Today, we are once again joined by Izzy, also known as Read These Fics, who is hosting a read along in preparation for the newest book, The Dark Mirror, coming out in 2025. As usual, our episodes come with spoilers, but feel free to come back to us once you've read the book. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Trigger warnings for this episode include gruesome violence, talks of oppression, and overall stressful vibes.
Yeah.
All right.
That's a stressful vibes is quite a trigger warning.
Yeah, I just figured I'd put it out there, really make sure you know that the book is going to hurt you, right? When the quote opener is by Emily Dickinson,
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I just tell y'all, I didn't notice that until literally 2 minutes ago.
Oh, no, I saw it.
I read it and I was like, oh, no.
No, I saw it literally like opening the book and my English brain was just like, oh, we're going to be in pain. All right, so the little prelude.
Huh. Yeah, it picks up right where it left off, which is kind of
for
awesome.
those who don't remember, right, the mime order ends with Paige taking that win from Jackson, right? He fully believed he was going to be Underking, and she goes, actually, you kind of suck, so I'm going to stop you here. And things seem like they're going to be, they're not normal, but normal to Paige in terms of it being kind of chaotic, whatever. Lo and behold, Jackson is homies with the refs and has been this whole time.
Buddies with Nashira Sargis.
And we get the confirmation itself that he is the traitor.
He is the traitor.
That is the reason this is scarred.
Listen, we knew it. We talked about it in the last video. We knew. But believing it to be Jackson and then like being told point blank it was Jackson kind of thing, and then having to see Paige have to tell Warden was a lot for me very early in. I was like, oh, okay, so we're just like dropping us in, right? And to see it become personal for Warden, that was a lot. Because Warden was already like, I hate Jackson because of everything that he's done to you and for you and by you and all of these things, right? But now it's even a step farther because it's like, oh, Jackson hasn't just wronged you. Jackson is the reason, like, I need constant pain meds and have to like deal with the aftermath and that it didn't go well and, all of these things. And so the prelude
and that short. It's going so poorly now too, because Nashira knows that there is this sect of people who like actively oppose her.
Yeah.
And he sort of took away the element of surprise for the Ranthan. Is the worst.
He's okay.
Yeah.
So part 1 is called God in a Machine. And the way that we did this read through, guys, is basically, normal things. We have our thoughts throughout the chapter, but at the end of every chapter, we're going to be breaking down what we felt about that chapter and why it hurt us. Because every single chapter hurts you. That is the disclaimer for this book.
Every single page? Let's get it clear.
But we can't break down every single page.
No.
But every single chapter puts you through the runner in different ways.
Welcome to the first 24-hour episode of Margin Maven.
Yeah. Welcome to hell. So first off, one thing I do want to say is Paige is so cool, right? It's the fact that she very quickly falls into Underqueen.
The role. Yeah.
Like she's immediately like, oh, I know how to do this because I've basically been training for this, since she got into the syndicate and stuff like that. I I think it's so interesting. First off, we immediately get like the dust has not even settled, right? We find out that Jackson sympathizers are blowing buildings up, right? We don't find out for a couple more chapters who is orchestrating all of this.
You knew.
Oh, we knew.
But you knew.
We knew. Like, it's one of those things of like, if it sounds like a duck and it looks like a duck, right? It's probably Nadine. Like, like she, for whatever reason, in this last book, right, in the My Mortar, because Paige isn't there, right? So she becomes Jackson's like golden pony. But she doesn't.
She's a pick-me girl. She is a pick-me girl.
But what's really frustrating
for all the wrong reasons.
is she doesn't do anything. Like, she is not a super strong voyant. She is not a super strong fighter.
She's a busker.
Like, she don't do much, right? And so I felt for her for about 2 seconds because I knew, like, it's one of those things of like, oh, the moment the Dreamwalker comes back, right? What use does he have for somebody who he doesn't even believe your like powers are rank high enough to do anything? You know, so she, like, last book was super annoying because she was just very much like, Jackson is the best and he's done all of these things for us and we should support him and I'm gonna support him and da da ba da da ba da.
Can I say something as like not a Nadine apologist, but as somebody who hated her the first series?
Yeah. Yeah, you can.
Okay.
Don't know if it's a
The
safe
look
space
I
for
just
you.
got, y'all can't see it, but the look I got was sure.
Yeah. If you want to.
I felt very similarly the first time I read the Bone Season, and I think this is how you should react to Nadine. You should hate her. And then on my second read through, I had a very different experience with Nadine, where I was like, this has to be terrifying. Because, like, let's imagine that you got lured to a fascist authoritarianism like country with your brother and you have nothing, literally nothing. And then the one person who has ensured your safety is gone. And I mean, listen, you play stupid games, you get stupid prizes. So like my sympathy for her is not very big, but I understand her. I think she's terrified. Like, I got dropped off in North Korea with your brother and left to fend for yourself. I understand her.
I still think she could kick
her.
rocks.
With open-toed shoes.
Yeah.
I agree.
I think, I don't know. I guess like my instinct, if I were to be put into a situation like that, minus all the extra like supernatural elements and stuff like that, but my instinct would be one, to make sure that like I'm okay, right?
Yeah.
But then two, like you want to make sure you have like a strong support system. And other than finances, Jackson did not create a support system for any of them. You know? And
I agree. I don't understand.
Yeah. So it was the fact that like she had the opportunity to be like her brother and find a support system within these people that are in the same situation. Like, you're all being treated terribly by the person that's paying you.
Yeah.
And to take that and go, okay, but I'm still going to be loyal to this person, despite the fact that he has very openly told me that he does not care about me. Like, Jackson has never been like, oh my God, like Nadine is the best and I love her. You know, Jackson straight up is like, oh, Paige is
I only
gone.
took you in because of your brother.
Yeah.
We don't actually know, because there was that whole time Paige was gone. And I wonder if he did to her what he did to Paige, where he was like, you're nothing special. You don't know what to do with your gift.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? I see something in you. And I see that you can be great. And I
he
feel
could also
like
kick rocks.
Yes, he can. I also just don't think, I think Nadine is foolish to side with Jackson, who like tortured her brother, instead of Paige, who was like, stop torturing Zeke. So yeah, Nadine summed up
Dumb,
play stupid
dummy,
games, win
dumb.
stupid prizes.
Yeah, dumb. One of the things I really enjoyed in chapter 1 was seeing how Paige like reinvented the system, because she knew not only was it like a power thing that she needed to do her own thing, but it was a very like, Jackson knows the inner workings here, and if he is on the bad side, we cannot keep doing things the way that we have been. And so she very quickly is like, okay, we're going to change the way it is, instead of having like mime lords the entire thing. You know, it's we're going to have commanders, they're going to react to me, we're going to have the sectors, we're going to have everything is broken down, I think, a lot more, you know, trying to basically stop any leaks that she can. And I really appreciated that, and the just like the intelligence she shows in how she deals with the world around her. What's up, Kayla? What's your beef?
I don't want to skip ahead. Okay.
But you are going
I
to.
do. No, I just want to point out that later on, I write a note down in my book that says, sometimes I forget Paige is 19. And then she does stupid crap like this. So
I'm not saying she's the end all be all of intelligence.
No. But, you know, she had a lot of
mistakes.
I'm not trying to knock Paige at all in the beginning, but she does have a lot of experienced people around her, and the right advisors and the right people in the right places who were able to guide her. And she does not exactly listen to them whatsoever.
I agree. Yeah, go.
Yeah.
So I think she's very intelligent when she wants to be.
I think it's the folly of, she's intelligent, but she is also prideful, and she is also like, I am 19 years old, and I am ruling the syndicate, and I need to make sure, like, I need to prove to them. She's constantly trying to prove to them, you know, that they made the right choice backing her instead of Jackson. So I think she shows her intelligence, but she still has those 19-year-old tendencies. And
absolutely still has those 19-year-old tendencies.
Which I
I
can't
was an idiot when I was 19.
Yeah, I can't even falter for it. If I was suddenly running an underground organization, you know,
at 19 would be doomed.
Like, people would be dying. I can't falter.
Yeah, guys, we need a $700 budget for gushers.
Yeah, I'd be like, all right, we need more books.
Rice Krispies treats. Like
it's not good. So what
we're gonna have a brownie baking night every Sunday.
Yes.
Yeah, like it would not be good. So like I get it. We also see at the end of the mime order that her and Warden have very much been like, okay, yeah, I will find you in the spaces between, you know, you being the Underqueen and stuff like that. And then I was immediately like, okay, but why are we not getting that? Like, there's a few pages, Warden is here, what's going on?
Why?
And then we find out more, right? We're reminded that Jackson has basically like taunted her, and he's been like, Warden is not actually into you. He is the bait and you fell for it and all of these things.
Let's talk about the part of his monologue that really got to her, which was everyone can see it but you. And that hit her right,
and it leads into her pride. Yeah. And that she so she basically like cuts him out. Like, she's like, oh, we just agreed that we were gonna be able to see each other, but I'm basically gonna ghost you. And I love Warden so much in this book, because he, I think, is trying to give her the space. Like, he waits some time, and then he's like, okay, but have I offended you? Like, have I done something?
Right.
Because he's literally like a little kid. Like, do you not like me anymore? What happened? Like, we were good. Yeah. And I loved him so much for that. But my favorite scene is actually in that chapter, at least, is when Nick, Eliza, and Paige are fighting off the vigils, because they're so in sync. Like, and I loved that so much. And you could really see, like, Eliza, I think, is one of my favorite characters in this book.
Yeah.
And you can really see, like, why the three of them work, you know? And, like, they fell really quickly.
Jackson.
Yeah, they don't need Jackson. And I just love that. And then we find out about concealed scent shields, right? That's what causes this whole thing. And I literally concealed scent shields smells like Jackson.
Yeah, I completely forgot we find out in chapter 1 that everything that Paige is that we see her set up. She's set up this wonderful system. They're training, they're collaborating, everything's going well. It's not perfect, but it's good. And then Samantha Shannon said, "Oh no, she cannot rest."
No.
Guess what? It's in ATMs now. And my heart was like,
yeah, that was So chapter 1, immediately stakes are risen. People are strengthened.
Foundations built.
Yeah, foundations rocked. Yeah. Chapter 2.
Real quick about Warden. I wanted to say something about the author's preferred text versus the first.
Oh yeah.
The first time I read the song Rising and Paige started to distance herself, I feel like I didn't have a good understanding of Paige's like I knew that Paige was prideful, but I didn't know it was to this degree. And I found myself like a little angry at Paige for pushing him away. But I think that there's something in the author's preferred text, some tweaks that were made that one made me better understand just how much of Paige's folly is attributed to pride, but also just how much relies on the image of her being a really good underqueen with no weaknesses. She cannot be fooled. She needs to look strong. And if she's in this relationship where every truly one can see that she has fallen for this trap, it ruins everything.
Yeah.
So something about the author's preferred text, some tweaks that were made, did a really good job of setting that expectation. I was not frustrated. I understood completely.
And I think
and
I think that not having read the original thing, I think I really liked seeing throughout the entire book, not just obviously chapter 1, but throughout the entire book, really seeing Paige have to kind of like, I don't know if you guys saw the most recent Spider-Man with Tom Holland with Mysterio and stuff, right?
No.
But
I saw No Way Home, but I didn't see that one.
Yeah, so that whole premise is he really starts to have to like doubt everything around him, right? And you really see Paige go through that in this entire book where everything feels not right.
Everything feels like an attack.
Yeah, like she's walking through her own minefield. And she, used to have Warden be that like one thing that she was like, okay, the world can be really crazy and chaotic out there, but like I have him, we're good. And so when that gets kind of taken away from her, and Jackson knew what he was doing. Like he knew the creature that he had created. He knew the world that he had left behind, right? And he's like,
he knows how to sow dissent.
Yeah, he's like, this is what will do it. And so we go into chapter 2, right? And one thing that I really love is the fact that there like was that distance and stuff between them, right? And like the first time that they're alone together, they smooch, right? And Samantha, once again, Paige consistently and always views Warden in such a poetic way, no matter what they're doing, right? So I think one of my favorite quotes of the book is literally when it says, "He stroked down my back. I searched him the way I might search a map for a path I had known long ago, chasing the familiar, learning what I had forgotten," right? And it's like, you make it sound like it's been years, but because that's like how she's feeling in that moment. And so they fall back together. They have this nice little reunion, right? And she puts it very plainly to him, like, "Oh, I missed you." And he's like, "Likewise," because he's still a ref and he's still weird about his words and and he's very,
he still talks like a tutor.
Yeah, like he still talks like he's in the wrong decade. And I just find it so funny. And then Maria walks in, and I think they have that moment of it's a reminder for Paige of like, oh, everybody can see it. Like, like everybody can see that this is a trap. I'm not doing well at hiding it. All of these things,
And then on top of that, you have to think about the fact that if they're caught, not only is it like it's a trap and everyone can see it but me, but also the danger that it presents for Arcturus, because the Ranthan,
a blood trader,
still believe that humans should not touch them. They're gross.
They're too above, Yeah. And I think Nick and Paige's friendship in this one is really nice because you could see that Nick is struggling with like Zeke not being around. And they have like their first like argument, even if it's like a split second thing, but they have their first argument in this book, and that made me really sad.
I liked, I'm sure we'll get there, but I did like that argument.
It was a good one.
I loved it. Because I don't think we've ever seen Nick be like that. And it made sense.
Yeah,
I was like, I like this side of him.
Nick is definitely a little bit different in this book, but like in a good way. Like he's hurting, so it's making him want to protect Paige more, but Paige can't just fall into that protection because she needs to be Underqueen. She needs to be like,
yeah, and he's like, I want to shield you from everything, and she's like, you can't.
You can't. Like, no, I have to do these things. It has to be me. Like, I need to help my people, and I can't rely on you to do that. So it's really an interesting dynamic that they have.
At the end of chapter 2, I actually made like a list of all of Paige Mahoney's problems so far, just by chapter 2.
And there's a lot.
There is.
Yeah, we have Nishira working with Jackson.
Yeah.
And also the rift that has caused between Paige and the Ranthan, because she's working with like their biggest enemy ever. Yeah. And then we also have the seed of deceit that's been planted, and the dissent, that it's all a ploy to make Paige look foolish. And then we've got these stolen moments with Arcturus that are kind of the only thing that are helping Paige compartmentalize what's worth fighting for and the fight. They're now ruined by the fact that they might get caught, and then Arcturus will be in trouble. The funding for the rebellion will be gone. And then on top of that, we have Ivy's impending trial coming up, where Paige has to decide between mercy and justice, appeasing the masses, and doing what's right. And then on top of that, we have Zeke and Nadine, who are just causing havoc. And like, they're not really even doing anything incredible. They're just being annoying.
They're being annoying, yes, and causing Terabelle to be like, you need to deal with this now. And Paige is like, I don't want to do it because I don't want to hurt Nick because he loves Zeke. And it's just, ugh.
And then the last Seven Seal, who is not meaning to cause problems, is Danny, who is working on this thing. And Paige is like, hey, should you really be going into that facility over and over and over again when we know that Jackson could give away your cover? Because, like, if Nick has to leave, maybe you have to leave. And Danny's like, maybe.
Me.
I got to work on this thing, though. Which we'll get into Danny more later. And that's a list of all of Paige Mahoney's problems just by chapter 2.
Yeah, and that's...
It's a shame.
30 pages, man. 30 pages, and she's going through it.
I rediscovered my end of chapter note. That was, this is going to be a painful read. I just know it. And I hate it so much. I just want Paige to be happy. Oh, sweet, sweet, naive me.
Yeah, let that
2 chapters
die.
in.
Yeah, that's rough.
Yeah.
That's rough.
So sweet.
Oh, man. So then we go into chapter 3. You know, we go into Ivy's trial.
The whole chapter is just so good.
Yeah, this whole chapter is really good. I like seeing kind of the ensemble of all of the main players in the Syndicate again. Because you kind of see how things have changed even just from the short time of her becoming Underqueen and stuff. And I like that once again it's showing that intelligence of Paige, of where she's able to recognize, like, there's really only 2 decisions I can make here, and either one, there's going to be faults to it in the eyes of, you know, the people, you know, and she's like, oh, I can kind of see why, like, Hector didn't, like, do much, because it's easier to just, like, not, instead of trying to genuinely and, like, consciously make those right calls. And
she knows how to pick her battles.
Yeah, and so she's like, no, this is something that, like, needs to happen or whatever. And I agree with what she does 100%, you know? And there were moments where I was kind of having to, like, go back and forth over it, because I was like, man, like, my morals would tell me that she's doing the right thing, right? But then like the knowing what kind of world she's in, I was like, man, but like a lot of this could have been just easier if you like took the like rude and like callous way out, because you would have these people not questioning you at every step, you know, but like from what's up?
Oh, I just said what it reminded me of was like something you'd hear about in history, like an unpopular decision made by a historical figure that retroactively people look at and go, wow, that was really good of them to do, even though it wasn't popular at the time. Like that's what the Ivy, and it showcased what a good leader Paige is, and why the Syndicate was right to put their faith in her, even if they don't realize it at the time.
Yeah, like I think this entire book is them like, oh, she's like making a lot of choices that are really stressing us out and making things difficult. But then like from the audience POV, because we kind of have, you know, more aware of like the whole world as a whole, we're like, she's making the right calls, but we understand why you're frustrated with her.
Yeah, and I feel like the one person who just from beginning to end already has this sort of reader foresight that we have, where we're like, good call, Paige, is Arcturus. I feel like he watches her make this hard decision and he goes, this is why I picked her. It's going to be unpopular, but she made a good choice. And she's not afraid to do that.
And he's got those like centuries of knowledge. He's like, oh, he's having the same opinion that really you have of, I've seen other historians, like other historical figures make decisions like this, and they're always hated in the moment. So like, cool. Think like Warden, hashtag, you know?
Think like Warden, hashtag.
But we get your main squeeze here.
I was literally just gonna be like, yeah, that's all great, but can we talk about Jack? Like,
I was like, we get Izzy's main squeeze.
Like, we get it. Like, yes, Warden, Ivy's trial, blah blah blah. But can we talk about how Jack just rolls up and starts flirting with Paige, like off the rip?
Flirting his way to a promotion in front of everyone.
Everyone. And she just like goes along with it. Like, she eventually is just like, you know what?
My note was go. Good news. We got more Jack Hickathrift, which is all I've ever wanted in life. He walked up here and he said, I'm gonna flirt my way to this position, and I don't care who knows it.
Yeah.
And it works.
Give me the job, I'm pretty.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hire me, I'm pretty.
He's also good at the job, which is like, you can't be pretty and good at the job.
Yeah, I love that he flirts with Paige, right? And then immediately Maria is like, what are you doing right now? And he goes, I can't flirt with Paige. Like, I'm in love with you. And I'm like, he switches gears so easily. And I'm like, I love this man.
It's a nice little break and bright moment.
Yeah.
For Paige after making such a heavy decision with heavy consequences about Ivy, and then for Jack to come in and just almost make her smile, like in front of everybody. She has to hide it a little bit. Like, she can't let them know that he's successful in his ways, and I think it just sort of like breaks it up for her, so that like gives her a little bit more levity that she's truly missing in her life.
I think that we should all strive to be like Jack Hickathrift, who saw that trial, saw the room turn and go badly, and said, well, it's now or never, so I'm going to go forward with we had some breakfast to flirt my way through this.
Yes.
No, I love him.
And then I said, bad news, everything else is awful. Like, I feel like my parents are fighting at the end of chapter, is my note.
Yes.
Yeah. So that super bright moment, right? We then find out after this trial that Terabel has summoned Paige and them, right? And first off, before we get too deep into this, right? Terabel also could kick rocks. Rocks.
More like terrible.
Yeah. Thank you. Like,
thank you very much.
Could kick rocks, because here's my thing, right? And it really just does come down to Terabel and Warden, right? Same mindset in terms of the Ranthan need to win because Nashira sucks, right? Yep. They're from the same world. They understand the same things, right? Why was he able to grow into a decent person And Terabelle is terrible.
I know why.
Go for it.
I also think I know why.
Okay. I think it's because he found art and music. Why do you think?
Because he watched humans. He actually cares a little bit about what they do, and Terabelle doesn't give a crap about them.
Terabelle cares about being able to reign over people.
Yes.
Arcturus does not.
Correct.
Yeah. But like,
correct.
She really sucks, right? So she, for the, and I hope you listeners are really enjoying the ASMR of the book turning. So she summons them, right? And then they find out that there's a curfew and they do the rational thing. And they're like, we cannot get caught on our way to this meeting, right? And so they're like, it'll wait. Okay, it doesn't wait because Mrs. Terrible shows up, right? And like
busts through, hurts Paige.
Immediately comes in.
Violently.
Immediately comes in, is like grabbing her by the throat, I think. Everything is going terribly. But because he's never not wearing his armor, Mr. Silver Knight comes in, right? And he, like, I think is essentially scolding Terabelle and is like, yo, what are you doing? But like in gloss, so we never know what's happening. And so they release, but like Paige, listen, I love Paige so much, right? And I think I really respect everything that she's going through, like in the series, but specifically this book, you know? But one of the more annoying aspects of her day-to-day life is the fact that she is this person of such immense power, right? Both with her actual powers and with being Underqueen and stuff like that. But then she goes into any room with these Ranthan, right? And they treat her like a bug on the bottom of their shoe. And I'm like, but realistically, like, she's the reason you guys have made it this far.
Yeah.
So, like, put some respect on her name. Why are you coming in and like...
she's human and they believe themselves to be better than humans.
But if they were better than humans, they would have been able to do their own uprising, you know?
Yeah, listen, you're not convincing anybody right here, right now, okay? You're 100% correct.
We're not who you need to convince.
Yeah. And so that whole scene really frustrates me, right? And so I was already getting frustrated. I was already feeling my own blood boiling, right? And then the conversation with Warden really, like, I understood it. Like, I was like, this is a really tough conversation. I don't like the fact that they're arguing, right? But definitely, like, because everything is tangled together, Paige isn't just like Warden's student, you know? Paige is somebody that is romantically involved with Warden. She's somebody that has her own power and her own rights within the Syndicate, and she's got, you know, she's a dream walker. She does all these things. She's more disposable than the rest of them because she's easier to kill. Like, she's putting a lot more on the line for them. And so for Warden to be like, I'm gonna stand with Terabelle here, and I was like, okay, you right now could be kicking rocks, and I'd be okay with it. I would be okay with it.
Here's the thing, like, he can't keep coming to Paige's defense without Terabelle being like, why are you acting this way? She is a human. She's agreed to this. Like, if he keeps defending her to Terabelle or one of the other Ranthan are gonna pick up on what's going on.
See, man, but like, I don't care.
I know.
Like,
I know.
I just, to know how rough things have been for Paige, just in the 50 pages of this book, right? And to now have it to not only has she been manhandled by these people that, like, inherently she still has some sort of fear for because they're, you know, these incredibly powerful creatures, to be manhandled by them in her own home, in her own, like, space that was supposed to be safe for her, and then have the person that kind of like gets her to want to do everything for this in the first place be like, I'm gonna be on this person's side, right? And then to find out what we know about his connection to Terabelle, I'd be like raising the world to the ground, you know? Like, I don't know if I'd be cool, calm, and collected under Queen anymore. like, especially at 19 years old. What? You're gonna tell me that I've been manhandled in my own home by these people that can't do anything without me, and then I'm gonna find out that the guy that I'm interested in or kind of seeing once dated this person that was manhandling me? Oh, at 19? No, I would. I can't even imagine. Paige is stronger than I am. Is all I'm gonna say.
You see kind of why Terabel and Arcturus
didn't work.
Couldn't work out.
Yeah.
Fundamentally they had disagree on like just their fundamentals. And two, we've called him jokingly many times therapy boyfriend. He's very good at handling his emotions. Terabel is like the awful like alpha male from every romance that you hate. She's so aggressive. And for what?
Like what is it solving? You know, like Paige is stronger and better than me at 19 is all I will really say. And
I'll be calling Terabel terrible from here on out.
We've stamped it. My only note for that chapter was like, this scene really hurts, but it's hard not to be on Paige's side. Also, #frick terrible.
Yes. Indeed.
What's up, Kayla? Got anything to add for chapter 3?
No, I'm waiting patiently.
All right, chapter 4, go off. Lead us.
So chapter 4. Boy howdy, if you thought things were bad for Paige and the Syndicate before.
What about the chapter title, Thin Ice, makes you think things are gonna go well?
Listen, respectfully, okay, you could have saw that title and been like, yeah, we know Warden is on thin ice because he was just told to leave and not come back. So, you know.
But it's Samantha Shannon, so it's a million times worse.
Yeah, of course it is. So Danny comes in and has a bit of information for Paige about where the core for Sunshield, like the scanners, may be. And so Paige is like, oh my gosh, we have to like jump on this. We have to go. We have to like investigate. We need to nip this in the bud now because it's getting to the point where voyants, especially those in the Syndicate, are unable to just even walk around and go about their daily routines without fear and risk of being captured. Okay, cool. Yeah, sure. We love a girly pop, break-in heist moment. We do. We truly do. It does not go well.
Man, that's such an understatement. That's so good. It doesn't go well. It does not. They got a couple boo-boos.
We ran into a few hiccups.
Yeah. She now I won't speak for everybody else here. I will say I figured it was a trap real darn quick because it was way too convenient to be dropping that for Danny to come in with that information, and I was like, oh, this is where the 19-year-old's impulsiveness is going to come bite her in the butt.
But in Paige's defense, though, she is not the only one that says that they need to jump into this, because all of her advisors are like, yeah, we can't wait for the Ranthan to okay this.
Valid. Also, however, she is Underqueen. She is still ultimately responsible for the decisions. And I'm not a Paige hater. I'm not a Paige hater. I'm not being hard on her. I'm just...
Are you really Terabel?
I'm not that strong, nor that ugly. But like, she talks about, her internal monologue about trying to make sure that she's coming off strong and making the right decisions to the Syndicate, and then immediately just jumps into, yes, we absolutely have to go and check out this warehouse.
Well, yeah, she was like, I need a win.
Yes.
So that the Ranthan will help.
Right.
And I think that blinds her decision making.
A lot.
But the good thing about her decision making and her falling for the trap is that I feel like she does, after this,
she's a lot more
what
careful.
I've talked about before. Yeah, Paige is always moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
And she, almost to a fault, is more cautious after this.
Yes.
But also, Warden should have shown up sooner.
I completely forgot he showed up at all.
Yeah.
So when he showed up on the riverbank and they do their, like, sort of makeup, I was like, thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Mom and Dad aren't mad for long.
Yeah, it's really endearing that how much, despite the circumstances that they're in, they're just a regular couple going through some passive aggressive bickering.
I like that despite everything, he still shows up. You know, like he's like, I have no way of knowing why she's calling me in, you know? And so then he like doesn't hesitate. And he not only goes to save her, but he like stays with her after. Like, he could have very well used that moment to like be petty and like, I'm gonna save you, I'm gonna drop you off, but I'm leaving after because I still don't necessarily want to talk to you.
Just for reference, for those who may be listening but haven't read yet, it is like November in London. So it's cold. That needs to be. It's a little chilly outside.
Yeah.
But basically at the warehouse they find nothing but a trap and a video from Hildred Vance, who is the Grand Commander of Scion in England, which we learn a lot about Vance as the novel continues.
She could sit on a cactus and twirl is all I'm saying.
But yeah, besides that. But so apparently Scion is able to scan Paige's aura energy, what have you, to enhance the sensor and Sen Shield to make it harder for the rest of the voyants. So they get out. And the thing about wintertime in London is that things freeze, right? Like water freezes.
I didn't know that living in Florida.
Well, I mean, it is Florida, which is just, you know, a little step down from Scion, London, I think, at this point.
Hop a skip and a jump.
It's very similar. But, you know, so rivers freeze, but the ice. Just a friendly reminder for those of you who might not be familiar with wintry weather like I am, if something's iced over, and by something I mean water, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's safe. But the only way for them to get out was to run across the ice. And Paige hears a crack, saves one of the voyants from falling into, and plunges into the water. And then Warden comes and saves her. But, like, not a great...
It got dicey.
It got very dicey, and it was not a good time for Paige outside of the physical aspects of it, because now she has a problem. Actually, she has a couple more problems. She has Vance,
99 problems.
And a bitch, aka Vance, is 100% one of them. But, like, she's got Vance, and now she has the problem where her signature has been scanned and is going to be used against the people that she's trying to protect.
Yeah. So not only was her mission a bust,
but
her mission ended up dooming her people. And then it's time to decide, hey, how much responsibility do I claim for how badly I effed up?
Mm-hmm. And
which
we find out that Paige's father is not in the prison that he was. He's gone. Warden doesn't know where he is.
Nobody knows where he is.
I mean, I figured out real quick. Family members only go missing in revolutions when there's points to be made. But, like, that's just...
come a long way from when y'all guessing he was the rag and bone man in the last episode.
Yeah, we still don't know.
Who knows?
I think there's hints in here that I just missed because I was too busy being stressed. It's really hard to piece things together when you're stressed out.
Oh no, I'm just trying to look like I don't know. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to give nothing away.
And so we get into chapter 5. right?
Yes.
We
learned about Vance.
Yeah, we learn more about Vance. We learn more about that. Danica leaves, right? Which my note for Danica leaving just says, this scene reminded me too much of when Alice and Jasper leave in Breaking Dawn.
Yeah.
Right? And it makes sense because later on, when Paige finds like the letter from Danica, I'm like, oh, this is just Alice and Jasper leaving. The only difference is that
I was worried about you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
the only difference is that what?
Oh, that like it doesn't seem as though like we know hopefully because we're all cultured individuals here. We know that Alice and Jasper leave, right? Because they're trying to figure out the answers to Renesmee and how she can exist and how she's out of danger and all of these things. At this point in time, right, I 100% believe that we run into Danica again because their world is their world, you know? But it doesn't necessarily seem like something that she wants because she's very plainly like, I don't want to be a part of a revolution.
She does not, no.
Anyway,
besides her, we get more Jack.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
My note is not Jack Hickathrift being hot and competent.
Yes.
Is my note.
Yes, precisely. Not only that, he also propositions Paige.
Yeah, I love him.
Again,
but like in a more serious manner. Like, listen, you're gonna need company. Everybody needs a little company.
Everybody has to blow off steam.
If you'd like me to warm your sheets, I'm here. You know where to find me.
Paige is stronger than me.
Blow off steam, blow me.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And then my favorite part in this scene, though, is at the end where she's like, I didn't thank you. And he's like, for what? And she gives him a little kiss on the cheek. And she's like, for putting your knife in through a man's neck for me. And it's like, that's romantic. I don't know about y'all, but that's romantic.
Yeah.
It is.
And then Eliza seeing it and being like,
I love him.
On him.
Paige, I had a crush on him forever.
Yeah.
Eliza is me. Yeah. I would be like, okay, sure, you don't want him to blow off steam with, but doesn't your Mollisher maybe?
Maybe your Mollisher needs a little attention?
Help a bitch out.
So then in this chapter we get like
Zeke wrote a love note to Nick.
Yeah.
I wrote my heart breaks for Nick and Zeke.
Really, it does.
It could have been.
Yeah.
And I feel like Paige feels a lot of guilt that she has this opportunity to sort of be with Warden, and she's not taking it because she's too scared. And Nick would die for just a second with Zeke. And he would take that leap in a heartbreak.
Yes.
Or in a heartbreak. In a heartbeat.
Same ending.
Same.
Both. My heart breaks.
Yeah.
Let these gays be in love, please.
Right?
Like, it's the fact that Paige is trying so hard to be everything. Like, she has been very wounded. She needs to recover, but she immediately still wants to go out and do more things. And they're like, girl, relax. Like,
this is a really great reminder to everybody who's listening that rest is productive. Okay.
Amen.
And sleep is important.
See
your doctor if you're having issues with sleeping, because that is not good for you. You make impulsive decisions.
No, everybody in
like
this call sleeps really
well. Like breaking into places and getting busted.
Yeah.
And strung up by a net.
True. She did literally get caught in the net.
She literally got caught in a net.
So
do we
want to
talk about the cute? Oh yeah, I thought we were already on chapter 6. My bad.
No, you're good. I was saying, so chapter 6 is a really cute.
Did we all mark the same quote?
Maybe.
Which one?
Tell me a page.
86.
Oh no, I didn't mark any quotes on there. I was too
busy dying. On there.
Hold on. I didn't think you'd come, was terrible. Happy for you to see me. I did not ask for her permission.
Yeah.
That's my note, and I just said, this man. What do you need
I think he
of me,
Paige? Said that because he's still a little hurt by the way that she reacted. You know, so I think he just needed to say that to remind her that not everything that he does is because Terrible deems it or is okay with it. You know?
He's trying to stress to her, you pick your battles, I pick my battles.
Yes.
I'm not always at Terabelle's beck and call, just sometimes.
Just sometimes,
right.
In the really inopportune moments.
Yes.
Paige can't understand, that. Well, I think she can understand, but she really just wants unmitigated loyalty from Arcturus. And he has to play both sides just like she does. Yep. She has the Syndicate and him to appease, and he understands that. But Paige can't understand that he has the Ranthan and her to appease.
Yes.
Kayla, you really got to be nice to that book.
I'm just very listen. Shut up.
It's a paperback. It's made for this.
Yeah. Exactly. But then on the next page, she's like, "Listen, we need to talk. I owe you an explanation." And he says, "You owe me nothing."
Yeah, love him.
He is 100% willing to just keep going on. He
gets it.
He just understands. He gets it. He understands. I truly think he knew that something was said to her when she was in that room with Jackson.
Oh, he knows Jackson and Nashira.
Yeah, he knows something was said.
He's like, 2 + 2 = 4.
Yeah.
My girlfriend went in there and she came out not my girlfriend anymore.
Exactly.
No, but so then on page 88, we get them flirting.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We get
Are you enticed?
We get Arcturus's little tutor flirtations. Right?
His favorite setting to flirt.
Yeah, and I love that. Right? But what I don't love was the fact that we never get the answer as to why he kisses her.
Yes.
She's like, I have 2 questions, right? And he's like, okay, 1 question, why did you choose me to be your your person? And he tells her that, right? And it's unfortunately a lot of it being you reminded me of Jackson, but there was a little bit of a change there.
Jackson.
Yeah. And then he goes, okay, you didn't tell me why you kissed me though. And he goes, oh, I didn't. And then just
never again. I hope that comes up in the Dawn Chorus or the Mask Falling.
It does.
Okay.
Kind of. I'll say it comes up in the Dawn Chorus in that you learn kind of exactly when he decided that he was kind of in love with her in the Dawn Chorus.
Nice.
And I'll just say,
we don't have physical books for the Dawn Chorus, right? They're ebooks.
No, they're all ebooks. Yeah,
that's okay. I can mark it up on my iPad. Perfect.
Arcturus was down bad for a very long time.
Yeah,
I believe it.
That. Do it. We were
can I? Yeah.
Go ahead.
I think you guys are really going to like the Dawn Chorus.
Yeah, well, that'll be in our next video. Kayla, don't let her talk early about things.
No,
she wanted to open the next book last night.
I did. I was like,
I don't blame you. Can I jump to page 93, or do you guys have notes on anything else?
Can we jump to a truce couldn't last when we were at war? For the time I had him to myself, I wanted as much of him as he would give.
Yep.
Yeah.
Can we jump to that?
Yeah, no, we jump.
Can we jump to earlier than that when he says, I consider your company worth the risk, but the choice is always yours. I love one man, and it is
Arcturus is the blueprint.
Do you see why he's at the top of my book boyfriend list?
Yes.
Bloomsbury handed me 2 books. They said, here is A Court of Thorns and Roses, and here is The Bone Season. Pick a book, boyfriend. And I said, hello, I will take Arcturus. He is number 1.
Yeah.
All day,
I didn't know that you read ACOTAR. I have thoughts and feelings, but I won't go into that in this moment.
Yeah, listen, if y'all ever want to go into that, I have so many.
Yeah.
So page 93.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot stress how important this passage is going to be in the mask falling. Okay? The passage is as follows. There is one way
I was literally
that you
just
might
staring
see
at it and
proof
rereading it again.
that I am on your side, something that would betray me, he said, his voice a rumble in his throat. If anyone but you could see. What can I see? He only drew me closer. Now,
Are we talking
I won't
about
say what it is.
the gold core?
I'm not going to say what it is.
Izzy, you wound me.
But you're on the right track.
You literally just yelled at me for trying to get more information from her, and now you're going to ask her for more information?
Maybe.
I'll say this. You're on the right track.
I love being on the right track.
It's something only Paige can see.
It's his dreams.
And
we're so good at this, guys. We are detectives. We are literary detectives. Anyways.
And I gotta say, when he said that, I immediately knew what it was, and I immediately knew why. And I love Paige. It takes her so long.
Yeah,
to
and all of us on the
understand.
outside are like, bro.
Yeah. Just to Kayla's point, the dreamscape is where somebody feels safest.
Yep.
So.
Yep. Mm-hmm. We got what you're putting down. Anyways, that'll be for that'll be for another video, guys.
That'll be for next month.
And of course, because we can't have anything nice, Samantha.
Ooh.
We get Paige waking up to what's his face? Frank Weaver telling the world
that it was
that
Paige's fault.
Because they grabbed Paige, they were able to amplify or improve on Sunshield and can now
before she could tell her people first.
Before she could tell anybody else.
To be fair, she could have still spun it in a way that didn't damn her.
I don't think Paige Mahoney could.
No.
I think Paige is determined to a fault to be so transparent.
Yes.
And in this book, I think she learns from Maria.
Like maybe I should be a little blurry.
maybe I need to be a bit more of a leader and a figurehead than I do an actual person.
Yeah.
Like, she has to become the Underqueen.
Have to do all the things. She doesn't have to be involved in all the things. You know, like...
Yeah. You can delegate.
Mm-hmm.
Delegating. A really great thing to do when you have the opportunity to do it.
When you're a queen!
Yes.
Yeah. Moving into chapter 7, one thing that really stuck out to me in this book in general was the fact that Paige is really good at giving speeches.
Wait. Are we skipping past the Beneath and Win?
Yeah, we gotta talk about the Beneath.
Oh, my bad.
Because if you were mad at Paige for showing mercy to Ivy before, I bet you aren't now.
Nope.
Because that's the only reason that when Frank Weaver is like, hey, everybody, I'm getting all the voyants, and they go into the sewers, into the Beneath, the only reason they're allowed in is because Paige spared Ivy and Wynn vouches for them to, what are they called?
The Toshers?
The Toshers.
Yeah.
Yep, they go into the cavernous sewer system of old London and crawl through poop.
I just need y'all to know there is a note in here by me saying I couldn't do it. I'd probably just choose death.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not built like that.
Yeah. Chapter 7, though, is when we start to descend. So, now we're in chapter 7.
Yeah, and so I think Paige gives really good speeches. I think she, once again, is really just showing that she's meant for the position that she's in because she's able to be like, okay, I understand all of you were very upset with me. You have every right to be, but we need to do this because X, Y, and Z, you know?
Let's talk about her first, really hard decision, which is to leave the voyants who didn't make it in time.
Yep.
And she just says, leave them.
Mm-hmm.
And that cannot have been easy.
Yeah.
Especially with Joss being like,
why?
Yeah.
It reminded me a lot of, I don't know if we have any Battlestar Galactica fans out there, but it reminded me a lot of a scene from that show where this lady has to make a decision to abandon 2 ships to the Cylons, because if they wait for them, everyone will be caught. And it's a really hard scene, but that's what it brought to mind. People have watched it, you'll understand, and you're going to be like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
The Beneath isn't great, but at least it's not a penal colony.
Yeah, at least it's not a penal colony. They've got light. You know,
they've got bathrooms.
Well, yeah, they get light. They got cots. They got, you know, once they're out of the sewer part, like they can shower. Like, you know, things could have been worse. There's a quote in this chapter.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say there's a quote in this chapter that I really liked where it says, like, got me from a queen to a sewer rat.
Yeah.
And I just really fell for her. And I just, every time, there's always moments in every book that I've read of the Samantha Shannons that really shows me, like, the caliber of writer she is. Yeah. Because she is able to so precisely and so beautifully put emotions onto a page and have you go like, oh, crap. You know?
Yep.
And that
one. I agree. She does it concisely, and you just feel everything for her. Oh, God. I think that there should be some sort of fund started for Joss's therapy when he's a fully functioning adult.
Yes. That poor
that
baby.
Kid's messed up.
He's seen some.
We watched
some
Joss.
Stuff.
Yeah, he gets several villain origin stories.
Yeah. He needs some love. He needs
talking about this has made my stomach hurt, so my husband had to go get me a candy to try.
Which I do think, though, that like he's seen some really messed up things, but I do like that the circle around him is very, very like they love on him all the time. You know?
Yeah.
Because that is, I think, the only reason.
Tethered to humanity.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think if it weren't for that circle, we would be dealing with a very different Joss situation. But he's kind of able to constantly be like, okay, no matter how scary, no matter how bad or how mean the decisions they make seem, I know that they're not mean people. I know that they are not evil people. And so I think he's able to rationalize a lot of what he sees from that perspective, which is, I think, as healthy as it could get. I like that Ivy, I think, is coming to have a better understanding of Paige, because obviously in the last book they do not have very friendly conversations, and then in this one when Paige decides like leave the voyants and stuff, Ivy is like, you didn't even like flinch. And that was both a really painful sentence, and I think it also kind of like undervalues that moment Paige had to have, because Ivy makes it seem very
like it was
easy, and Paige was like, no, I had to, like, in that split second I had to weigh out, you know, the survival of my people versus the chance that maybe the people that are outside can come back at a different point, they can get away, you know. But
I think Ivy, in addition to Paige showing her mercy, Ivy also sort of understands Paige. Is willing to understand her, because now she's been caught. Her part in the gray market was found out, and I think the reason she felt so aggressive towards her in the mime order is because she was gonna find her secret. And now that her secret's been found out and Paige has been like, I'm gonna show you mercy, I think Ivy's more willing to work with Paige.
Chapter 8, I don't really have anything super.
I just said, can we get a round of applause for Glim and Tom and Maria? And also poor fucking Nick.
Yes.
Also, I adore the way Paige and Arcturus argue. It's very natural in this unnatural setting. And lastly, I like the bumpy start Paige has as Underqueen. In dystopia, the FMC often takes to revolution like a fish to water.
Yeah.
But Paige's struggles are much more interesting to watch than somebody who just
because she is messing up. She is having to kind of like consistently earn her like followers back. Like it is not Katniss Everdeen coded in terms of Katniss gets dropped into a revolution, you know, and then everybody immediately is like, she is the revolutionary and she knows exactly what to say and what to do. Because even when Katniss was messing up, it still had positive impacts on that revolution, you know?
Yeah.
Even taking like when she decided that she wasn't going to film like the propaganda video, you know, the way that they wanted it to be. So instead she's like singing at one point to like herself.
Yeah.
Like Katniss very effortlessly falls into that like revolutionary role. Paige does not. She trips, she falls, she messes up. Like
she's guerrilla warfare. She is not anything.
Right.
It like, yeah, that was all my thoughts on 8. On 9, I was on a roller coaster. How about you guys?
Yeah. But also, just for a brief update on the plot, we find out Dani asked for a transfer because she figured it'd be easier to run away from Paige than from Jackson.
Oh, yeah.
So,
ouch.
Yeah, it sucks, but like also I think a lot of it had to do with her guilt at being used and like falling for this information that Vance put out. Like,
she's very methodical and very like
yes. So like she gives Paige some information about possible leads in Manchester. So that is essentially where they're going.
Yep, we get the seance, which is really, really cool. What's up?
Yeah. Oh, I know that it hurts Paige to hear that it's easier to run away from her, but it also shows that she's already a better leader than Jackson because
she can run away.
Yeah, Dani can leave.
Yeah.
She won't have to fear repercussions.
That Paige is going to like come after her and stuff like that. Yeah.
There's constantly differences between Jackson and Paige, and I love to see it.
Yeah, and I think like this chapter was really interesting because we got to see like the seance and stuff like that. But we also got the Warden and Paige scene, you know, where she was like, this can't happen. And that
I'm not crying, you're crying is what I
and that one just was really painful to me because it was kind of a decision. I know that she like, not to give spoilers to a book that we're discussing, you know, but the fact that she ends up kind of like, they take it back by the end of the book in terms of like their commitment to it, but I do think it was a decision she had to make, even if it wasn't a permanent one, because she was like, I need to have that clear boundary for a moment.
You need to free up brain space.
Yeah, we're good. And she's like, I need to do this thing. And I think even Arcturus in that moment was, I don't want to say he's like cocky, because that's never a word I would use to describe him, but he's very sure of like his connection with Paige and the connection that they have. And he's like,
yes,
because he knows he loves her.
Yeah,
he like, is so sure and confident in his feelings for her that he knows she'll get there.
Yeah.
Let's talk about how unref-like his parting to her is, where he says, when I return, he said, we will be allies, nothing more. It will be ... as if the guild hall never was. He has such an emotional attachment to that guild hall.
Yeah.
And he is so assured that, you know, maybe we'll find our way back to each other, that he doesn't go, okay, I respect your decision. He goes, sure, I respect your decision. Let me remind you, though,
that it
real
happened.
quick, that this did happen, and you're going to have to forget that happened.
Yeah, and he's like, it was a really cool moment.
And I was really romantic and sweet.
Yeah, I loved him a lot.
And then page 140, I wrote, R.I.P. Izzy Steele, cause of death. We sat with our arms around each other, holding too tightly and not tightly enough. Once we left this place, there would be no more talks beside the fire, no more nights spent in his company when I could forget the war and suffering that loomed on the horizon. No more dances in derelict halls, no more music. Goodbye, little dreamer, he said. Kill me!
And it's
sedate me!
Yeah, and it's really hard because you know that they're going to find their way back to each other. You know that they're going to be okay, right? But the point here, right, is very much when they become okay again, when they find their way back to each other, she is not going to be that little dreamer anymore. Like there is going to be kind of a reckoning in her own growth. And so that kind of part of her, you know, is something that he's saying goodbye to, because when they do kind of find their way back to each other, so much happens, right? That they're not the, you know, she's not the same. And I'm not going to say he's not the same, because refs probably grow a lot slower, but
yeah,
like she is
was
not the same.
The sweetest, most respectful way of saying goodbye.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's just
no, it hurt. It hurt a lot. So we're gonna
just
move
punch
on.
me in the face next time.
Yeah,
it'll hurt less. I'll heal faster.
So we go.
I wrote for chapter 9. I wrote tonight's top story. Everything is awful. Like, damn. Chapter 9 is such a kick in the teeth. Nick's sister, Roisin and Ivy, the Paige and Arcturus breakup. I only smiled once when we saw Jack Hickathrift made it underground.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
The only good news.
The only good news. He's fine. So we go into part 2.
Yep.
Manchester.
Engine of the Empire. You know, really daunting titles here.
So the goal is clear. They go to Manchester. They find this Jonathan Cassidy, and they figure out where the core, or where the Sun Shield is getting their core
developed.
They need to find it. They need to figure it out. They need to take it apart so that they can put it back together and figure it out. Like, it's a puzzle. They need all the pieces. They don't have all the pieces.
Yep.
So it starts with them on a train on the way. There's a spot check on the train, which is not good for them because they're still like 4 hours by train away from their destination.
Their luck is really terrible with this.
Their luck is terrible.
But it's not even luck, because it's, you know, Vance over there being like, I know where they're going.
I don't know which god Paige pissed off, but she really ought to have made some sort of like sacrifice. Okay,
Yeah.
like a little, just like
Sacrifice
a lamb.
Carl,
all right,
you know?
like just some sort of sacrifice to make it right. But you have.
I was agreeing to sacrifice Carl to appease the god. But I don't even think the gods want Carl.
No, I can confirm they do not.
Yeah, you have.
Yeah.
You spoke with them.
Gods and I are tight. Also, just a little piece that I kind of took a little side quest on. In this next chapter, in chapter 10, she gets to see more of the stars. So she's like picking out like the constellations, and she wonders why Warden chose the name Arcturus. So I went on a little side quest onto how
I know what you found.
How it came out, and it's derived from the Greek words for bear guard or watcher, guardian.
And what does Mahoney mean?
I don't know off the top. I
was like, you're asking. I was like,
you're asking a Puerto Rican. You give me a Puerto Rican name, I could probably give you the meaning.
Loosely, it's like bear. And Arcturus's name is Protector of the Bear.
Yeah.
And it was an accident when Samantha Shannon did that. She has said a million times, like, she could not believe it when she finally looked it up. Just Paige Mahoney sounded right. And that ended up meaning the bear.
Yeah, listen,
and then
Paige Mahoney has pissed off the gods. Samantha Shannon has been blessed.
So what I'm catching from this is that they will have their happy ending, happy ever after at the end of the series. Like, that's what I think. It certainly does not lead me to now spiral in thinking that somebody is going to sacrifice themselves so that somebody else can have the life that she deserves. I'm just saying.
All right. Well,
without getting too ahead of ourselves, Samantha Shannon has said that she believes that it's a happy ending in a very bittersweet way when we get there.
Cool. Anyways, I'm gonna
the worst kind. Anyway,
I'm gonna ignore that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
My favorite part of this chapter was Eliza's speech.
I love Eliza
and she's very like fair and honest, right? Like Paige kind of has a moment of like, oh crap, I did kind of break tradition again because I didn't leave my Molisher in place to like in my stead, you know? And it was 100% coming from this point of view of like, I want them with me. They're my homies. Yeah. I love them. And then Eliza's like, okay, but it looks as though you don't trust us.
Yeah.
You know, like, you don't trust us to make those hard decisions or those hard calls or to do all these things.
Yep.
No, I loved her speech a lot.
I think that Eliza is probably the most human, like, normal person in the group. But Eliza's going to be very glad that she didn't stay behind by the end of this adventure.
I'm sure, yeah.
Kayla, you're making a face. What's going on in your brain?
Because yes, Eliza's cool and the speech was okay, but like when she picked Glim, it made sense to me. Like it made sense, and I was hurt. Like, Eliza, like if these were normal circumstances, like 100%, girl, give your speech. Like, tell her, hey, by the way, like, that was a little disrespectful. These are not normal circumstances. This could have probably waited until at least Paige wasn't actively having to run around everywhere to avoid dying. Like, maybe timing is a thing.
I completely agree with you. I think that Eliza has never been good with timing. She's very emotionally driven.
Yes.
Like, if she feels like somebody's mad at her, she has to talk immediately, and I relate to that. Like, the whole thing in the last book where she wore herself out because she thought Jackson would be mad.
Yeah.
And, I mean, this just echoes that. The second she feels like somebody's mad at her, her brain is like, and she has to say something.
Which, valid. 100%.
I respect her for it.
No, I agree with you.
Anxious
it can be bad timing.
Yes, but like,
it can be bad timing.
This Paige is like, I'm trying to keep this
whole
world from falling apart, and you're mad because I hurt your feelings.
But going back to like chapter 10 as a whole, we learn that buzzers are popping off everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
There's a syndicate queen in Manchester we now have to appease. Jackson has potentially gathered all his info for On the Merits from his time when he was in Oxford, and his section on oneromancy is likely based on Warden. The Mime Order's propaganda has reached a wide variety of people. There's child labor in Manchester, and in better news, the Refe revelation has spread everywhere.
Yeah, they're publishing it. You know, Paige is published.
It's a hit.
Paige is a Big 5 author.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Paige.
Yeah.
And so then we get more.
Chapter 10 was a lot.
Yeah, chapter 10 was
a lot.
And then we get more into kind of just like the different dynamics of the different leaders and stuff. So we meet like the Scuttling Queen, right? And they could have been homies. That would have been cool. But Scuttling Queen 100% is like, I see what you're doing, but you're not going to do it here.
Yeah.
And really like shuts her down, right? Which is frustrating to say the least.
Yeah.
But I
will say this chapter did give me probably my top 3 favorite quotes or like little paragraphs in this. I didn't realize it until I reread it right now on page 170, where it starts with, when you dream of change, it shines bright like fire and burns away all the rot that came before it. And then that whole paragraph right there, I highlighted because it's just like, yes, like exactly. Yep. Like the parallels between this and like current events.
Mm-hmm.
I know.
So strong. So strong.
I marked that too. I said Paige's rumination on change is so good. Chef's kiss.
Yeah. My end of chapter note is literally, Paige is so freaking smart, and the commentary on revolution in this book is crazy.
It's insanely
we're all
ahead
in the
of its
same
time.
brain, you know?
Oh yeah. Constantly, this book makes you think of current events, and I think that's one of the reasons I think it's going to age so well and like be such like a classic.
Yeah.
Someday is it'll age very well. She's done her research.
Yeah. And so then we go into
12.
Chapter 12, which one of my favorite parts.
Home to my favorite quote.
I'm not the sex patrol.
Yeah.
Really took me out.
Yeah.
Really took me out.
100% Jackson would have had a problem, you know? Like,
for everybody listening, that takes place after Eliza's probably glad that she came along, and she has sex with the cab driver, Harry.
Yeah.
I believe his name is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what I really like about that exchange, though. It's not necessarily just that it's funny. It's that we're in a time of revolution, unprecedented times, and girls are still girling. And Eliza's like, "Are you mad at me?" And she's like, "No, I'm not the sex patrol. Like, fine." And it just feels. I love these little breaks we get where we get
well, because
reminded
Samantha
that
is aware that she's like dragging us through the mud. The least she can do is the least she can do is like plant some flowers on the way, you know? Like,
yeah.
My favorite quote from this chapter is on page 182, and it's basically after she finds out that Ireland is not doing well, right? And she says,
I would become stone.
Yeah, she says, I would become stone for the people here, for my grandparents, for myself. I would shatter Scion as they had shattered the country I loved, even if it took me every day of the rest of my life. I think like she was already anti-Scion, right? But that was such a like poignant way of her really like taking her hatred, taking her anger, and not letting it like ruin her, you know? And she's like, it's going to ruin them because they've done this thing repeatedly. And once again, it really is just
it's so relatable. And like Steph, I won't speak for you, but like, you know, my parents were born in Puerto Rico on the island, and they came here when they were kids because it was the only opportunity really for them to have
American dream,
a better life. Yeah. Like that was the destruction and devastation, you know, done to the island by the United States. So like just that little bit of like being away from a place that you consider home in some capacity, and then like knowing that there are parties responsible, and it just like spoke to me on like a more personal level too, where it was like, yeah, like, you know, like, am I that angry at America? No, but like I could be, because what's been done to like that place that was home, I mean, it's just as bad as what Scion has done to Ireland.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And like, man, it'd be really great if Samantha could stop slapping me in the face with current events. Sometimes
she really does. I think that's just it's the sign of such a good book that talks so much about events that just revolutions happen over and over and over again. Conquest happens over and over and over again, and history repeats itself. And I think that Samantha Shannon does a good job of talking about history in this
in a way that makes it relevant.
Yes.
And you're not just like, oh, this is like the same story I've heard, you know.
Like I read this back in 2020 originally, and I was like, wow, this is so relevant. And now I'm reading again in 2024, and I'm like, holy, this is so relevant.
Yeah. My only chapter note for chapter 12 was Katrin will make things undoubtedly more interesting. And then I went, I feel like I will trust her, ? Because I was like, I like the stir, you know, like I like the fact that she's willing to do something when something needs to be done, you know, was not really a huge fan of her sister. Then obviously with what we know about her and how she handles things, I was like, okay, I wouldn't stir the way that you have, but I wasn't clear in my instructions, I guess.
I made a very similar note where I said, at the halfway point, I really don't like releasing Katrin, but that is why I would never be Underqueen. This is probably a good idea. And then I said, I swear to God, I wish I was Paige or Nick, but I'm Eliza. I'm this tired, whiny, anxiety-ridden girly pop who just wants her friends to think she's cool and lives to bang Jack Hickathrift.
Yep.
Anyway, I'm not defensive of Eliza for any particular reason.
Yeah, I don't see myself in her at all. And then chapter 13.
13 is when stuff goes down.
Yeah, I just put Samantha really knows how to keep a bee on the edge of their seat. I think
Let's talk about the moment where Paige realizes that the vigil on their side looks at Katrin the way Cutmouth looked at Hector.
Yes.
My stomach turned.
Yeah.
I don't remember too much about why that upsets us.
So, if I recall my information correctly, Ivy and Cutthroat were in a relationship, and then when Cutthroat left Jasper's Island,
Sure,
is that what it is?
Jacob's
Island. Thank you. She joined Hector as a smallisher, and then she was immediately like hooking up with him.
I think that also just Hector had a huge hold over his gang.
Yes.
People were blindly loyal to him out of fear. And Paige is like, I thought that Katrin might be another Paige, but Katrin might actually be another Hector.
Sure. Yeah.
I think it gives her a moment of like, oh, is freeing Katrin a good idea?
Yeah.
Can I trust Katrin?
Yeah.
Because she might not be the person I think she is.
And she might also not be very sane, you know? And it really comes into play with what we find out later on.
Yep.
But
oh boy.
By the end of this chapter, I'm just gonna keep pushing us ahead.
Yeah. We're stressed.
We're stressed because Paige Mahoney comes face to face with Emlyn Price.
Who sucks.
Who absolutely sucks.
Yeah, a lot of these characters that we get introduced to, they just
very hateable.
Yeah, Samantha knows how to write a hateable character is what I'm saying. Yeah, so I will be moving us along a little bit unless anyone has anything very specific they want to point out.
Let's go. I'm ready for 14. Let's do it.
But we talk about how
I have a very funny interaction to share with you guys about that one.
So for 14, all I have is that Katrin is simply unhinged.
Yeah.
Yep. She manages to like destabilize the entire mission
very quickly.
for revenge.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And Paige
her
is the
boo
Pikachu
thing and her
meme
wanted
going,
revenge, you know, like I think it's funny because Katrin reminded me very much of pre-Underqueen Paige, and maybe even very, very early Underqueen Paige of like, I think Paige has that moment of like face to face with like, I understand why you did this thing, but because I've done this thing, I know it doesn't work out. You shouldn't have done that thing. And so that was definitely a lot for me to read.
But can we also talk about how Paige looks Price dead in the eye and it was like, if you don't give me this information, I'm going to go murder your wife and children?
Yeah.
And he doubts her. He doubts her and it's like, you're not a born killer. And she says, killers can be made.
Yep.
Because that's essentially what Scion has done, has made her and the rest of the Syndicate killers because they don't have any other choice.
Yep. People, I think that this book does a really good job of saying that rebellions and insurgencies don't just form for funsies.
Yeah, they form out of survival.
People develop these things out of survival.
After
Nobody
years.
just decides. They don't one day wake up and be like, oh, I'm going to be an outlaw now.
Yeah.
It's something that is institutionalized and built and crafted. It's not fun to be a criminal threatening people's families.
Right.
And that's the Song Rising's like big thing is like, this is not something anybody wants to do. They're doing this out of necessity, not glory.
Yeah. Correct. And
I could go on and on.
Yeah. Again, current events.
Completely same page.
Let me go into
Then we
15.
find out. Well, wait, then we find out that the scanners are in the guns.
Oh, yes.
That's an important part.
Well, I was going to touch upon that in 15 because that's when they.
Steph is like, no, pain. We must talk about pain.
Yeah, I was immediately stuck on the fact that Tom dies.
Okay, can I show you guys something hilarious, please?
Yes.
Okay. My update says, I thought we were going to lose Tom for a second.
Oh, no.
And then
Well, that last slide didn't age well, now did it?
Yeah.
Because in the very next chapter, spoiler, Tom died.
Yeah.
And he got shot right when I thought he was going to get shot. And he didn't tell anybody because he wanted to see Scotland again.
Yeah.
I I am unwell.
Yep.
Is this funny to you?
Good answer.
And that, I forgot he died. And I was like, oh my God, I thought he was going to die for a second.
At the end of chapter 8, I go, oh, I love Tom, which means he's definitely going to die. Because as somebody who's watched anime, I recognize that when a character that you love is really taking sort of almost a co-main role, they're probably dead by the end
when we start learning a little too much.
Because I watch anime, it killed me.
Yeah.
Listen, all I'm saying is, if you watch anime, when your favorite character gets more screen time, something bad is going to happen.
Yeah, and so we make it to Scotland, right? We find out that Tom is dying. He dies. And then we are kind of dealing with all of the situations again, right? Where they're kind of coming to peace about the fact that they need to do something about these things, and they're like, okay.
Oh, wait.
Yes.
Let's talk real quick. In Tom's death, he gives Paige something as Underqueen that is going to stick with her for the remainder of this book. He says, there's a reason we accepted you as Underqueen, and there's a reason Scion has been trying so hard to find you. They know they cannot control someone with a flame like yours. Don't ever let them put it out. And it sounds like a sweet, sentimental parting thing that, just is meant to pluck at your heartstrings. But he's also saying you cannot let the passion and emotion that you have go out because it's the only edge we have.
Right.
And the rest of the book, Paige is constantly trying to remember empathy, not just brutality.
Yeah.
She's like, why am I doing this? Who am I doing it for? And I think it also reminds her of why Warden's relationship with her is actually important to her success.
Because she's So a fun fact, pushing into chapter 16, not because I'm rushing us in any way, but I'm really excited about this.
No, you're good. You're good.
The vaults that they're talking about in Edinburgh, I've been in. And I was in them for not this past spring break, but the spring break before. Because I went to Scotland. I went to Edinburgh for spring break, and we had like a ghost tour in the Edinburgh vaults. And what's really interesting about those vaults is that is where the I'm gonna say syndicate for the sake of the series, but that's where the crime people would meet. And they had two serial killers really prominently known in this time of that they would kill people found in these vaults because they would go to parties or all of these different things, and they would kill people and sell them to the medical college. That literally at the end of the vault was the place of the pickup.
That is grim.
Yep.
That is grim.
So when I saw that they were in the vault and they started describing the vault, I was like, oh my goodness, because obviously it's a ghost tour, right? And as somebody who believes in ghosts, 100% bad things happened in there. It was so eerie and so chilling. There was a point, I was with obviously my partner and a friend of ours, and I had it was eerie. I don't want to. It's fine. We're trauma blocking.
We skipped over one thing in 15, which is that Warden is back.
Yes.
Oh yes.
Yes.
Warden. Yes, Warden
came back.
Takes them to
And we got Maria's devastating backstory.
Yep.
Yes.
And then for dessert, Nick ruminating on the still painful death of his little sister. And
on her birthday.
It's all bad.
Yeah,
all bad.
On her birthday.
Samantha Shannon typed it up very Britishly, sipping tea flavored with the tears of her readers.
Yes.
Yep.
Correct.
Yep.
Chapter 15, that's a summary of everything from chapter 15. Maria's backstory, Nick's sister, Ward's back.
And again, we get all of that, and then we go into chapter 16, where Paige ends up crashing, through a wall or like
Page
falling through a wall.
223.
It crumbles. Yeah, and she's swearing, and Warden goes, "It sounds as if she's alive."
As if she is alive.
And then
he's kind of funny sometimes, you know?
He's kind of funny, but then later she goes, "Perfect. I always wanted to die alone in a type E restricted sector." And Nick's like, "What?" Yeah, and she's like, "It's a type E." He goes, "Paige, you know that means the structure is unstable. Why aren't you panicking?" She's like, "You're panicking enough for both of us." Like, she's
I sang. She sings it at him. You're panicking enough for both of us.
She's falling apart. And we just get the cutest little jokey, fun moment between Paige and Nick, and then we get absolutely wrecked by discovering that Katrin murdered her sister Roberta and is now the new Scuttling Queen.
Yeah. And we also have
we get more Liz.
Paige meets with Liz's aunt.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I have a theory about who the devil is because her aunt goes over the reading with her. I won't say who they are until we get a little bit farther. But this person could also be the one who is always watching the lovers. But circumstances have led me to believe otherwise. I don't think it's Nashira. I don't think it's Jackson. And I don't think it's Terabelle. I have another guess. But I'm not going to say until we get further.
Okay. I don't like any of the options.
But yeah, Liz's aunt tells us that there's somebody who is like watching Paige and Arcturus. Knows about their relationship, and if they manage to sever the lovers, like, hope is lost. What?
Wait.
What?
No, wait. Okay, go for it. It's fine.
Nick knows about Warden and Paige.
That's a theory.
She hadn't thought of that theory.
I'm not saying anything till the next book, till the mask falling. I'll tell you, because remember, each book corresponds with one of the cards that Liz drew.
Yes.
And I don't remember which one this is, but the mask falling is the lovers.
Okay.
I think they go in sequential order.
Okay. I'll have to look through that again.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're nearing towards the end of the book, right? So for
chapter 17?
Yeah, which is Blood and Steel, right? And so
my favorite line is in this one.
What is it?
It's 238.
Hold on, let me see.
Warden, you're not going in there as Underqueen.
Oh, yeah,
I order you not to go. He never took his eyes off the depot. Permission to disregard your orders, Underqueen. Permission not granted. Permission categorically denied.
I have that one too.
He's funny sometimes, and he's funny in such a dry way, because he's like, you know, I don't. He
doesn't even look at her.
He's not doing it to be funny. Like, he's just like, okay, you're saying that I have no permission, so I'm asking for permission to not listen to your lack of permission.
Yeah. Permission to not listen to you, and she's like, no.
Yeah, no, that's so good. And then.
It just really gets me in this book. Maria. She has these cute little funny moments. Like earlier when they're going to the Beneath, she's like, oh yeah, nothing like learning about people by crawling through their excrement. And then when Paige is like, I can't dream walk into this place because they've set up, you know, things to make it so that I can't just walk around. And she's like, we could burn it down. And then, you know, she's learning
pyromancer.
More. Yeah, pyromancer. She loves her some fire. And then this chapter, they're learning about ectoplasm and, you know, the refs and how their bodies work and all of that. And learning about Nashira and how she has fallen angels and all of that. And she's just like, you know, Warden offers to explain it again to her, and she's like, no, thanks. My brain's already melting. Like, she's all set and she's done. Like,
yeah.
Amen.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then Paige's
just
dad.
A cutesy.
Colin, R.I.P.
Colin, R.I.P.
Colin is executed live on TV, and he wasn't a perfect dad, but he was all Paige had.
Yeah.
And like Nick says, like, he did love her. We don't know how unconditional the love was or how he felt about her being unnatural, but maybe that's for the best that Paige never learned.
He reminded me too much of I don't know if you've read the Throne of Glass series. Sorry, it was because so he reminded me too much of not Throne of Glass. I'm dumb. Feyre's dad.
Akatar.
Yeah.
Yeah, Papa Archeron. He never gets a name.
Yeah, never. Doesn't deserve one. It's cool.
Just Papa.
But yeah, that reminded me too much of that. Of like, oh man, like we will never really know the father's feelings towards the kid based on whatever situation that they're in or whatever. And that was really painful.
And then Warden says, I cannot tell you how I feel. I'm no one's son. What I will tell you is that you cannot force yourself to mourn. Sometimes the best way to honor the dead is to simply keep living. In war, it is the only way.
Yeah.
Therapy boyfriend.
Therapy boyfriend. So then we go into 18, right? And one of my favorite scenes is on 250, where she's telling him, like, you don't have to be my grief counselor. And he's like, our agreement did not make me indifferent to you, Paige. And it just, this man was written by a woman, you know?
That is why Steph and I started this podcast, because I could almost guarantee that if you put our books side by side, a lot of the same things would be highlighted and marked.
Yeah.
Did you guys highlight something similar on 252?
Probably. No.
I have a mark on it, but now I'm scared to say it.
You say it. I want to see if we have the same one.
Oh,
Hold on.
It was, I mean, I think it was more of the scene itself. And so it's when Paige says, where is it?
Do you think so little of yourself? And she goes, call me a fool again. So he does.
No, that one's good.
Oh no,
I have that one marked too.
I was trying to figure out why I did this one. When he says, Paige Mahoney, I never thought of you of all people would prove worthy of your yellow tunic.
Yellow tunic. That was the other one.
The way I screamed, this is what I want in a relationship in a book. Yeah. I don't want him always like being like, yes, queen, yes, queen, yes, queen, yes. I want him to look at her and be like, stop being a coward.
Yes.
This is not why I chose you. And him bringing up the yellow tunic because he knows how much Oxford makes her mad.
Yeah.
So he's like, I got to get her mad again. Mm-hmm. And he chooses those words. I did also mark the fool. Do you think so little of yourself? Call me a fool again. Fool, Vance has made you doubt your strength, but you have endured worse than her. And I love him riling her up.
Yeah, because he knows that like that's what she thrives on is those emotions and stuff like that. And then that's obviously where we find out, this chapter is where we find out that Warden and Terabel dated, right? And this is what I'm saying.
Because she gets to see
his
memories of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like going through your current Boo Things Instagram and seeing that the pictures are still up.
Yeah.
It's a rough moment. That's why I'm saying, like, Paige is just better than me. Because I think I would have, the conversation, especially at 19 years old, you know, I'm not saying the conversation would be the same now at, almost 26, but definitely at 19, I would have been like, this is why you never, defend me or whatever. Like, that would have been my spiral moment. So the fact that she doesn't is wild to me.
Then he gives her that pep talk. And that was right after that pep talk, I tagged you guys in my stories and I was like, it's important to let you guys know that I love this book way more than I remembered.
Yep. Yeah.
This is great.
Yeah. And I have to admit, like, my note at the end of the chapter was like, this chapter had really great parallels to me between Paige and Katniss, because they both have their breakdowns and they are both like built back up and like comforted by the people that they love and like the people that, they trust implicitly.
Yeah.
And it's just like I loved it. It was so good. Just like reading this, I was like, yes.
I am putting it out there though. The rest of my notes for this book, I just have, I think, end of the chapter stuff because I was
it gets a little chaotic for me.
Yeah, I was just
except
for chapter 19, when the Vance has orchestrated basically a reenactment of the Dublin incursion to get a rise out of Paige. Mm-hmm. And Paige, getting into Vance's head, decides, you know what? I gotta do what she's not expecting, which is I gotta fall for this and offer myself up.
Yes.
And she runs into the crowd, and Arcturus is like
her.
267.
Yeah.
Yep. 267. He says, Paige, please. I stepped away from him. I have to. He says, if you expect me to stand and watch you hand yourself to the Sargus, you will have to empty that gun into me. He said, softer, do it. Shoot, Paige. And she knows that the bullet won't kill him, it'll only slow him. And then she runs away. Mm-hmm. And in a scene that rivals the bow and arrow from Catching Fire, Paige screams, I'm Paige Mahoney, do you hear me? Paige Mahoney, I'm the one you want. Yes. The golden cord rang like a bell. The first gas shell soared towards us and ruptured. And then she's taken.
Yeah. My note for that chapter was just, I need Paige to stop.
I wrote,
I said, no.
Yeah.
No one knows quite how to end a second act like Samantha Shannon.
They're always so dangerous.
Like, the audacity.
And so then, like, the interlude.
Speaking of audacity, okay? I need y'all to know poetry is not my strong suit. I don't like it. I can appreciate it every so often.
Section right now, so.
Yeah, and I was like, man, I'm best friends with an English teacher, and I can't even. I had to read this like 3 times out loud because I can't like get the same feel. And I'm like, man, I you can't emotionally rock me and then give me poetry.
Oh no, I think the opposite. But that makes sense. I
like that the poetry is not perfect either because it's supposed to be written by Didion.
Yeah.
So the meter's a little off.
Yeah, the meter is off. The rhymes, there's like no rhyme and reason to it. Like it is very much showing because he is constantly talking about how he's like this much better writer, but everyone around him is like, ooh, it's just Didion. Not. And so I liked kind of seeing the train of events happen like throughout the story and how it ends up with like our young queen is dead. And then I just put the B word on a sticky note.
Oh, I don't fucking know anymore.
Yeah.
And that was
Samantha,
my note.
if you come on, we'll be much nicer, we promise.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not gonna dull my shine.
And so then we go into part 3.
Chapter 20.
Oh,
sorry.
No, I was just gonna say part 3, Death in the Maiden.
Oh yeah.
Right? And so now we're into chapter 20. Yep.
It's utterly brutal.
Mm-hmm.
Suhail being like,
is the worst.
Where's my old friend, the flesh trader?
Yeah.
And Paige saying, try your best.
Yep.
Yep.
And throughout chapter 20, Paige, we see her feverishly clinging to the advice that she was given to not let her flame go out.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
She makes a plan in her head where she's like, step 1, survive the torture.
Yep.
Yes.
And then, do you guys have anything else to add on 20?
That's where I put my note.
I am so freaking scared.
That's where I put my note of sometimes I forget that Paige is only 19 and then she does stupid shit like this.
Yep.
I understand why she did it. I do.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Oh, wait.
And then
I just got reminded. So 21, right? So I read 21 and I immediately went, oh my God, I'm so glad. Like, I think in the last video, I like mentioned, I was like, I think Nashira has the Ripper because they're constantly looking for this poltergeist. The entire syndicate is constantly looking for this poltergeist, and she's got one that is like meant to be like the most powerful thing in the world, right? And so then when we get told all of these things about how, you know, she has the Ripper and all of them.
Jackson's just talking to hear himself.
Yeah, Jackson just talks to talk, you know, and he
also
hate this man.
Carl is back?
Yeah, hate that
Carl
man.
is back, yeah. But she stabs him with a syringe. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, we see him very briefly and he's immediately messed up. It's cool.
Jackson's line of we're all devils in the skins of men.
I literally just read that. Oh, you will become the monster that lives inside us all.
Yep. Yeah,
I also forgot that I forgot that it was Hector. He says that it's Hector who sold Paige. Who's believing Jackson? Because I don't believe him.
Not me. No.
I think he sold her. I think he suggested she be taken.
I think he planted the seed to make
or at the very least he told
behind
Hector to do it. Yeah.
Like, because also Paige is like, he could be telling the truth, but why would he tell? He knows that I would never forgive him if he did that.
But also, like, here is how in my brain it goes, right? Like, we know Hector didn't really appreciate Paige or like her all that much. Like, couldn't really stand her, right? And maybe something happened, and Hector goes to Jackson's like, you need to do something about your Mollisher. And Jackson's like, that's not happening, okay? If you can find another way to get rid of her that doesn't involve her death, by all means. And probably all but told Hector, then sell her, because I'm not getting rid of her.
Yep.
I think, Jackson wanted her to develop her gift more. He was desperate for it. We saw what he did to Zeke to get him to be better. And he was like, the only way that she's going to get better is if I send her to Oxford. And he arranged it. That scene with Jackson is so good. But it wasn't until 22 that I actually started crying. And I'm curious if you guys cried at the same part.
Yeah, I
didn't cry, but I was going through it to where my friends were like, are you okay? And I'm like, no, I'm not okay.
It was page 305 for me, made me cry.
Well, it's funny because I even wrote you in my notes and I said bittersweet, and Izzy was right. I am devouring it.
Molly Malone.
When the guy on the piano starts playing Molly Malone.
I highlighted that.
There's all these little moments where people show Paige support. You're not as alone as you think. And Samantha Shannon does such a good job of putting you in Paige's head that when people do show solidarity, you're touched because you're like, man, Paige needed this.
Yep.
And I cried when he started playing Molly Malone. And then also on page 309,
I am Underqueen of the Scion Citadel of London.
Yes!
I will be Underqueen until I go to the ether, and if there's one last thing I plan to do with my life, it's protect the people who trusted me with theirs. I know you're only trying to do the same, Nashira. I just wish you'd believe there was another way than this.
Yep.
May my dying words be as good as Paige's thought to be dying words.
Yeah. And so then we go into...
talk with Nashira is good.
Right?
We go into 23. Right?
Oh, also, Al-Safi. We need to talk about the end of 22, where Al-Safi realizes that Paige never came here intending to escape. And I think he finally sees...
what Warden's been seeing,
Yes, why she was chosen. Why she's the one.
Well, he considers them wasteful and fragile and futile. And in this moment, Al-Safi seems to realize that the significance of humans being all those terrible things and dying quickly and easily and being selfish and insignificant is that Paige will demonstrate that in spite of all those flaws, they're capable of laying themselves down for a cause and betting their whole lives on hope for the small, tiny chance that it might mean something bigger. And Al-Safi, you just kind of see his whole perspective on people, humans change.
Yeah, which is why he ends up, later on willing to like go to bat for her. And it hurts a lot. 23 gives us when Vance and her are talking, right? And Vance says on like 323, Paige goes, and Vance only lied when it was necessary.
I think that's 20. 24? That's chapter 23. Yeah.
Yeah, it
is it 24?
No, I think it's chapter 23. It's just very deep into 23.
Oh, yeah. No, it's
Yeah.
And so on page 323, Paige goes, and Vance only lied when it was necessary. And I put on a sticky note, and I love when authors make everything they write matter, right? When it's like, it's obviously the simplest term is foreshadowing and stuff, but when it makes it foreshadowing, but like on crack, where as, somebody writing or when you're putting words together, it's incredibly difficult to make every piece of dialogue, every piece of setting and scenery matter, right? So when you see something be echoed that was said early on, right, where like Maria's tip to her is very crucial to this moment because she's like, oh, like, she doesn't lie, but I think she's lying now. She would only lie if it was necessary. And it's what kind of helps her do the catalyst for everything else that ends up happening.
That showdown with Vance is really good too.
Yeah.
It is so good.
Yep.
It is so good.
Yep. And so Paige ends up blowing up the core, which causes everything to kind of go haywire, right? Which leads us directly into 24, where obviously people are big and bad and upset with her. And so Alsalfi shows up to get her out, right?
Yep.
And Nashira is obviously there. And
Alsalfi then learns the significance of sacrificing yourself for a cause.
Yep.
And I can't help but think he was influenced by Paige. Right.
And I think it shows
like a little warden too, like a little bit of warden.
Well, yeah, because he specifically says and tell Arcturus, tell him I hope this redeems me.
Yeah.
Right. And I think because he realizes for a human to be willing to sacrifice says a lot, because they, we're only given a certain amount of time, right? Whereas the refs get centuries and centuries and centuries. And so for him to be like, man, like they've barely lived, a quarter of what we're able to live. And they're willing, she was willing to sacrifice and stuff like that. And so Alsalfi and Nashira go head to head. And he unfortunately is killed. Yep. Right? Which I think he definitely walks into that knowing he's going to be.
Yeah, because he needs to buy Paige time to get away.
Granted, not buying, she's not allowing him to buy her enough time because she kind of just stays there.
No, but also counterpoint, maybe perhaps it wasn't to necessarily buy Paige time, but to buy his other inside friend time to do what they needed to do.
Let's not skip over the part where Paige hypes herself up running.
Rise from the ashes.
Rise from the ashes. Come on, Underqueen. Yeah. She's just like, I imagine it very unglamorous.
Yeah.
Very out of breath. You got this.
Yeah. Very, very 19-year-old-esque.
But yeah, my favorite reveal on page 330.
Major spoiler by the way, for y'all that are listening. If you truly,
this episode is more than 2 hours long. If you have made it this far in and you have not read the book, nothing we tell you. No, what? I was going to say nothing we tell you is going to change anything. We're like on the last 5 pages of this book.
Yeah.
You were going to be spoiled regardless. You've stayed this long. But so it gets revealed to us that Scarlet Burnish is a traitor to the Anchor, right? She is their like model woman. Like she is their.
She's the face of.
She's the face of Scion.
Yeah, she's the face of Scion. Yeah. She's doing all these things, and she is a traitor. She is, she's been working against them this whole time.
She's an espionage.
Yep, she's a spy. Yeah. So Samantha Shannon brings in spies. We can get some Kim Possible up in here.
Yep.
And so, what's up, Kayla?
Nope, that's the next chapter. Keep going. Sorry.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, where
maybe.
I don't know. I think this is our.
No, it's same chapter.
Yeah,
same
I was
chapter.
like, all of it is.
Yeah, this is the last one. I think. Yeah.
Keep talking about Scarlet. I'll wait.
Oh no, so I was gonna say, like, it's the fact that we see that she cared about Alsalfi, right? I'm obviously we'll never know what those conversations looked like. But it was the fact that she was willing to have that good relationship with Alsalfi because they knew that they were on the same side. Also really shows that Warden and Paige are not this anomaly that like the refs want to make you think. Not saying that Scarlet and Alsalfi were like romantically linked or whatever, but they obviously had.
We don't know.
Yeah, we don't.
We'll never know. Something.
Yeah. And so because we don't know that for sure, like we don't know what level of communication, what level of trust they had and stuff, but they show that like Warden and Paige aren't crazy. Everybody around them has been like, how could you do these things and whatever, and they're like,
I think that she had at least a friendship with Alsalfi, like they came to understand each other. And then Paige and Arcturus, Scarlet gets her out and they reunite.
Yep. So I have on page 333, you are a fool, Paige Mahoney.
Yeah, baby.
Yep.
Read it.
The whole thing.
Go for it.
Go ahead.
Oh, you want me to do it?
You started.
You are a fool, Paige Mahoney. His voice was dark as velvet. A headstrong fool. Aren't you used to it by now? You exceeded my expectations. I exceeded Vance's too. And then she ends it with, sorry for pointing a gun at you.
Pointing a gun at you. So good.
My bad.
So good.
I'm literally just a girl. I didn't mean to do
oopsies.
that.
But what I know that Izzy loved, and I wrote it down specifically for Izzy, is on the next page. Because when Warden goes, what did they do to you?
What did they do to you?
And I was like, oh my God, Izzy, look. He does it back to her.
The only couple where I actually give a about the who did this to you trope are Paige and Arcturus.
Yeah. And so things, listeners, start unraveling very quickly towards the end. It's the last few books or a few pages. We find out that Paige, Nick, and Maria have been enlisted into Domino, the espionage going against Scion.
Which is probably who Scarlet is with.
Yes. And so that's who Scarlet is with. And so we find out not only have they been enlisted, but they have been enlisted into separate places of the world. Yes. Which makes me really sad.
Yeah.
Because Nick ends up going back to Sweden. You know, Maria gets sent, I think, to Romania.
Bulgaria.
And then Paige gets sent to Spain or Portugal.
France?
No, France. Sorry. Spain got brought in at some point and got stuck in my
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Spain is going to be important.
Yes. So basically, it's bittersweet, but it's also, I think, very important for Paige's future character growth to, like, discover more about herself when she doesn't have those that she loves around her.
Well, and she'll have Arcturus with her alone.
So they Paris, the most romantic city in the world. Are you kidding?
Yeah.
The mask falling is the lover's card, baby. And we missed something real quick, and I think it's 22. We should have covered. There is a person that Paige meets when she's in her little zoo cage on display, and she's the wife.
The pregnant lady. Never wanted to punch a pregnant lady before.
Hey, guess what? You get to meet her again in Paris.
Oh, right,
she is going to be important.
Yeah, her whole shtick is like, I'm so glad that my child will be born in a world that you are not in, and yeah, like, let me go eat a baguette angrily, filled with hatred.
She angrily rips her teeth into a baguette. I am so happy that my child will not grow up around you.
I like that the baguette turned into a cigarette.
Yeah, it's France. They turn into cigarettes. They smoke their baguettes. And Benoit Menard will be very important.
Because
they're trying to build. They're trying to build
another
Shield 2.
Yep.
Shield 2. And we also learned that Paige has always wondered if Nick thought about her as much as she thought about him after they first met. And Nick does finally confirm before they part ways he thought about her and hoped that he'd see her again someday.
Yeah.
And I have my outro music for this book being Dreams by the Cranberries.
Nice. Yeah, I think this book was so good. I still rank the Mime Order higher.
Yeah, me too. No, Kayla?
No.
Oh, it's been dethroned.
No. It's been dethroned for me. No, you can't put Paige through everything she went through.
So it's a pity ranking is what I'm hearing?
No. And had Warden and Paige go through all the little things that they went through, the back and forth and the patience of that man to wait for her because he knew she would come back. No.
Yeah. I'll say it's much closer to the Mime Order than it originally was for me. I think it might beat the Bone season for me. I think it might go Mime Order, Song Rising, Bone season. Yeah. My summary of this book, my one sentence summary is the Song Rising is far better than I remembered, a beautiful and culturally relevant book about the cost of revolution and the merits of humanity.
Not the merits of natural.
Man, I almost said something and I won't.
It's cool.
And that's the Song Rising, baby.
That is the Song Rising. What a doozy of a review.
Oh,
yes.
I have something for you guys.
Okay.
I learned what type of voyant Jack Hickathrift is.
Oh, what type of voyant is he?
Samantha Shannon hosted her monthly QA, and I said, will we ever learn what type of voyant Jack Hickathrift is? Is there a reason we haven't? She said, he's a medium, hence the green cloak he wears in the Song Rising. Some voyants are very proud of their aura colors. I will probably specify his subtype in one of the next 2 books. So Jack Hickathrift's coming back, baby.
Let's go. I'm here for
Let's
it.
go.
Yeah.
Thank you, Samantha.
I need him to flirt with Paige in front of Warden.
In front of Warden.
Just to see what happens.
I want to see Warden jealous.
Warden's response. Warden will go,
Yeah.
That'll be it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, so that was the song Rising.
Yeah. What are you guys' thoughts on it?
I loved it.
I think for such a short book, it's such a punch to the
It's so
jaw.
packed. It's so packed with so
everything
much
is so quick, which is why like my notes really start devolving in terms of like coherency because I just start going like I gotta keep reading.
Yeah.
I am heavily it's odd. I'm more interested almost because the mass falling scares me. I'm really interested in the dawn chorus, you know? And so I'm gonna probably pick that up almost immediately. This week is kind of stacked.
Please,
but
spam me with your thoughts.
Yeah.
I have so many thoughts on that one. I don't think we'll have time to do all my thoughts on that and the mass falling in our next one.
We don't seem to
have... we could talk about the song Rising for 3 hours.
Yeah.
2 hours.
I do, from Samantha Shannon's QA, I did snag some stuff for everyone that I think is relevant to the read along. I snagged 2 things.
Okay.
First, well, I already did 3 things. First was the Jack Hickathrift thing. That's important to me.
Most important.
The other thing, somebody said the beginning of the Bone season 2 and 3 made me think Paige is telling the story from a point in the future. Is it right? And Samantha Shannon said, yes, that's correct. She speaks in the present tense exclusively in some of the opening paragraphs. So Paige is telling us her story from somewhere in the future in these books.
I don't like that.
I've always suspected that was it. We'll see. And then somebody said, thoughts on a friend's theory that each book in the Bone season corresponds to a card in Paige's tarot reading. Yes, I've been open about that. Each book roughly lines up with a card. So the Dark Mirror is death inverted.
Then this one is the devil.
I think maybe, yeah. She says what it is. And then lastly, this is not a spoiler. I just think this is going to help you guys when we read The Mask Falling, because I'm going to tell you it's going to be tough sometimes. This is a quote from The Dark Mirror. Again, not a spoiler. For some, there is safety in stillness and certainty, but you have ruined me for stillness, Paige Mahoney.
Go.
Just remember that as we go through the Dark Mirror, not the Dark Mirror, the Mask Falling.
Oh, okay, but lovely listeners, and this will be the first episode we have recorded after my lovely partner decided that he will start editing. So, honey, I
love you.
Apologize.
We're so sorry.
R.I.P.
But thank you, listeners, for being here, and we will be seeing you and Izzy in the next video where we cover the Dawn Chorus and the Mask Falling. See you guys in the next one.